I was like, flying over. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But she's
But specifically like
You know what? For us, though, like, it's so
we don't even
I don't think
I would even like just back
if you want to go,
because all
Is this somebody's microphone up here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, Coach, why don't you begin with an opening statement?
Yeah. Glad to be here on Tuesday. Want to first start by sending my condolences to the family of Gary Klopper, known as Texas Tiger. I met him several times when we were down in our tours in the spring. He passed away unexpectedly last weekend, and so I want to send my thoughts and prayers to his family. Also want to thank Jack Foster for saving Peter Burns' life on Friday night. Apparently at their Friday night meeting, Peter started choking and it got pretty serious, and Jack stepped up to the plate and gave him the Heimlich maneuver, which ultimately led to the airway passage being opened up. I know our athletic trainers had to treat him on Friday night because it was such a serious incident. So appreciate Jack stepping up and being a hero when he was needed to be a hero. A quick recap of the game after watching the tape and really looking into it. Just want to say how impressed I was with Coach O'Brien and his football team, Boston College Eagles. That was a really good football team, a quality football team that was fundamentally sound in all three phases. I think he's done a tremendous job getting those guys to believe into their plan and really impressed with the way they played and the way they stayed in the fight for all four quarters. They were certainly a worthy opponent. But for us offensively, there's a lot of things to correct, starting with a slow start, lack of execution in the red zone, having to kick 2 field goals and a punt in the first quarter, field goal, punt, field goal. Penalties. I've never seen 2nd and 59 again, and I hope to never see it again. That was incredible. We did have some positives, really good swing 8, 10-0 right there that ultimately was the difference in the game. But our inability to put away the opponent in the third quarter to stretch that out to a 17-point lead is something that we have to do better. Obviously, the execution on the last 2 third downs of the game was critical in order for us to win, but missed opportunities throughout the game to be better. And so that's the focus for us this week. Defensively, slow start. 5 plays can get you beat on defense. If 10 people do the things right, but one messes up on 5 plays, you give up, explosive plays that get you beat. And ultimately, we had critical busts in critical situations that we have to fix, and whether that's coaching, whether that's personal responsibility from players, both sides, whatever it is, it has to get taken off the tape, and it has to get taken off the tape quickly. We played really well as a defensive unit for most of the game, but still gave up ultimately 3 touchdowns, and we're 1 drive away from suffering a defeat there. And then special teams, a slow start. Obviously, the first return opportunity we had, ball was tackled inside the 20, which can't happen. And then in the fourth quarter, a critical error on a shanked punt and a penalty, which ultimately resulted in only 23 yards of field position change. So those things got to get corrected. Obviously, really proud of Blake Craig and being the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week with his 4 field goals. Thought he really did some nice things, but And it's, for everybody, offensively, defensively, and special teams, some critical mistakes that got to get taken off the tape. This week we start SEC play, so everything is even more critical. We have a good challenge this week. Vandy, I think, has always been a very difficult out for us, except for during the COVID year. But 3 years ago, it was had to win in the final drive of the 2 minutes. Played with a lead, but had to seal that game. 2 years ago, it came down to a 4th and 1, and they really forced a lot of turnover issues in that game against us. And then last year, were able to hit explosive plays and claw their way back into the game in the fourth quarter. So, a quality opponent. I think this is Clark's best team since he's been there. He's done a really nice job of building the transfer, or utilizing the transfer portal and still developing his players. He's got guys that have been there for a long time. I think DeRicky Wright being one of them. I think that C.J. Taylor, the star, he's playing deep safety now, but he's one of the best defenders in our league and has consistently been that for the 3 years that we've gone against him. I know he'll be out in the first half because of the targeting penalty, but he is a really, really good player. Coach has done a really good job with his coaching hires. I think their offense is new and innovative and tough to defend. They utilize their quarterback Diego in a lot of different ways, and he gives them a chance on every play to be explosive. I think the tight end Eli Stowers is obviously a critical component to their offensive success and somebody that we have to be aware of. Defensively, Coach Lee's taken it over. He's running it, and he's been one of the best defensive coordinators in the country when he's done that with his work at Notre Dame and other places. So it's going to be a real challenge for us. And really it's not about our opponent. It's about us and our approach and how much better we can improve, how much more disciplined and consistent we can be in all three phases, in the ownership that we take of that. So with that, I'll open up for questions.
Talk about the slow start on offense. How has Brady grown and improved in that? I'm sure it's a conversation with you and Kirby and everybody else to work through those problems. Yeah,
I thought he had one of the best plays I've ever seen him make on the first third down of the game when we were running a five-man protection concept. They overloaded protection. Timmy Chang's it to the right and throws it back shoulder. So he didn't start slow. We had an explosive run the very next play. It's just once we got into the red zone, we had critical mistakes. So, those things got to get corrected. And whether it was schematically or one of the 11 players not doing their job, I don't think it was Brady.
I think it came into play on Saturday at the end of the first half. How does having the 2-minute stoppage kind of impact the way that you can manage the clock at the end of the half?
It's very significant. It's very significant in how you can utilize timeouts and kind of manipulate the clock and coaches into. You saw it last night in the NFL. You can manipulate people into having to, run certain plays or certain schemes. For them, we called the timeout after or before the third down to force them into a decision. They ultimately decided to throw the ball, which allowed us to save our timeouts, which ultimately, gave us the ability to kick a 50-something yard field goal. So it puts coaches in a really difficult decision and players in a decision to execute, and if they don't, they leave time on the clock, and that's what happened. There's a lot of analytics to it that you have to study, and you have to be in real time, be able to make those decisions on what you want to do.
You look at how you guys are able to contain the run against Boston College last week. What do you carry into this week defensively to contain a quarterback like Diego?
Yeah, I think all three games have actually been good preparation for this opener in the SEC. Diego's a different style runner than Castellanos. He's more physical downhill, kind of has the old okey doke on his option stuff. Will lower his shoulder and take on defenders. So it's different, but then there's some schematic things that are similar. I think there was one of the first couple plays of the game, they ran a triple option scheme that shows up this week in the exact same formation. So I think there's some of that stuff that will carry. I don't think that our approach to pass rush will have to be the same. We do have to contain him, but ultimately we look back at the plan. Maybe there were some more opportunities for us to try to create pressure.
Coach, quick passes that Brady threw on Saturday. I think 3 went 20 yards or more downfield. Is that a balance that you like? What kind of situational factors went into that?
How many throws do we have?
I think 30 passes.
We had 30,
and
and 3 only went 20.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back. We did create explosives in the past. Obviously Luther's and 2 to Mookie were explosive in nature. And then the rest, that's just kind of what the coverage dictated. We missed 2 verticals down the field, 1 to Lou and 1 to Theo, that ultimately, I think one, we just got to execute both sides, whether it's route, throw, catch, whatever, penalty, whatever you want to say there. But other than that, I think those are the 5. There wasn't anything on the tape that I'm sitting there thinking, well, they're playing really down on us. We have to do something different. So, yeah.
Blake Craig had huge shoes to fill. Can you talk about the fact that
I think their shoe size is the same. Jersey sizes are different.
can you talk about what kind of confidence is that easy honor can give to someone like Blake?
Yeah, he's put in a lot of work. He's always been a really confident kid. He's always been confident in himself. And I think the players and coaches demonstrating confidence in him too. Like the question last week, were we concerned about him because he missed a couple of longer field goals? And the answer was no. We knew he would be able to make it when we needed. And I think that confidence, that was as well struck a 57, was it 57-yard field goal that I've seen. That thing went through the top of the upright. So he's got confidence, he's got plenty of leg, and his team believes in him. And that was a really big momentum swing for us. You could just tell the energy in the locker room was different because we were able to fight all the way back from a really poor first quarter to actually have control of the game going into halftime. So I think Blake really did his job.
Yeah, following up on that, when you were recruiting Blake, what was it that you see that made him the one compared to all the other kickers you were recruiting?
Yeah, I actually went and watched him live. Again, his confidence, his ability to make it. He came here and worked out during our kicking camp and won competitions, and so ultimately that was, it's not just about the talent; it's about the mentality. Blake's one of our most consistent performers in the weight room. Even when he was working out with the Edge squad, he always was a guy that Coach Russell singled out and said was a leader and a good performer and had the right stuff about him, which is what you want out of that position.
Harrison was always, we'd ask him, hey, process and that kind of stuff. He was always really straightforward. Is Blake similar, different? What are some of the similarities and differences?
Similarities, it was the same hash that he kicked. Mevis kicked the 62-yarder, and I was thinking that in my mind, like, man, that's pretty ironic. These two guys kick it from the same hash. I think competitive spirit. Obviously, I don't think the moment gets too big for him. I think both of them kind of relish the opportunity for them to compete and bring value to the team. I think they're different personalities. Blake's a little bit larger of a personality than maybe Harrison. I don't spend a ton of time with him, Kickers are a little bit different. Just kidding. They're good dudes, man. Yeah, he's good. But I think you'll get to see. I think is he talking today? Yeah. So you'll get to see a little bit more of a feel for who he is. But yeah.
Eli, it looked like Jamal Roberts got a few reps. It's kind of a third down situation. What do you like about him in that role?
Yeah, he has the best understanding and grasp of protection with also the size that you need. He's got good hands out of the backfield. He's consistent, physical as a blocker. Obviously, somebody that we can throw the ball to or hand the ball to in those situations that we trust, and it takes a little bit off of Marcus and Nate's plate from a physicality standpoint, especially with teams who are going to, we knew that Boston College was going to blitz and then add green dogs on top of it, so we knew we needed a back in there who could hold up physically and try not to add extra contact to Nate.
Coach, with Brady, it seems like the ball's coming out time-wise a little bit quicker this year than last year. Is that something that was by design or byproduct or anything, or what might be behind just a few attempts per pass attempt this year?
some of it is by design, some of it's by play concept, some of it we've emphasized more quick game this year than we probably did last year. Some of it is just a better understanding and reading of defenses, so he knows he's processing the play faster and knows where his answers are faster. Like I think both throws to Mookie came out really quick, just to protect him from the defensive danger, whether it be a corner falling off or the flat defender getting depth. And those things just happen based off experience and processing.
And then with the pass rush, it looks like last week on a few first downs you had 5 D linemen in there and brought in an extra D tackle to play with the nose tackle there. What went into that look? Is that something that you might keep around with some of these mobile quarterbacks, or what went into that?
Yeah, that was a game plan decision based off 12 personnel. Was a heavy run personnel for them, and we felt like the most important thing for us was to control the A and B gaps and really not allow their center to be free to climb up to the second level, put the center and guard more in one-on-one blocks. So we went to a Rhino package. We hadn't shown that. We had hoped that it would create some confusion or an adjustment to their game plan. Also, it's in some of the zone read stuff, it allows your ends to be more contained players so the ball doesn't get out on the edge, where in a 4-down stuff, your ends typically need to be your chase player, so the quarterback then has the freedom to pull it. So that was more of a schematic situation. Each week it's depending on what we feel like we need to do in order to win the game. So I don't know if that'll be in the plan this week. You can create some of that same kind of stuff with the multiple fronts. We played some drop 8 into a 3-down front that's really the same style of scheme, but it's predicated more based on 11 or 10 pictures. So it just depends on if we feel like we need to do that. I thought Marquise really did a nice job coming in and playing the nose, which is what he primarily did in the game. As far as the pass rush, that was a design technique that we had. We really felt like if we could keep Thomas in the pocket and utilize our zone coverage, we felt like we could force him into a couple of mistakes, which ultimately we did. But I thought he did a really nice job of picking us apart too. We certainly have to be better in zone coverage moving forward.
How important has Christian Williams been in bringing in some of the new guys on the defensive line?
Yeah, I think for him it's just about he has a standard on how he operates and what he wants our defense to look like, and I think that's been the most impressive thing about our defense is that whether it's Chuck or Joe or Christian or Johnny, or even Drayden Norwood, they know and uphold the standard, and they expect everybody else to play to that standard, and they're not willing to lower it for anybody. And so I think when you have transfers come in, we're really not adapting to you. You're joining us, and this is how we do it here. And I think those guys have really done a nice job of this is how we do it here. And what happens is you see players perform at that standard. I think Zion Young has been playing at a really high level. I don't the stats don't always reflect it, but the 3rd and 10 before half, he's the one that tips the ball. They're throwing to a wide open wide receiver because we had another coverage bust, but he makes the play there. Corey Flagg has joined us and is playing at an elite level. Khalil Jacobs had the a couple of TFLs or sacks, depending on what we call them. So it's not like those guys have joined our standard.
Sticking on that note with Chuck, what can you say about how he's embraced his role since he got here, what his personality has added to his team?
I think Chuck's exactly what we talk about when we talk about emotionally consistent. He's the same guy every day, doesn't get too high, too low. He's going to give you the very best that he has. He's going to prepare every week. He's going to play really well. He had a really big play in the first of the game, tipping the ball. It was almost intercepted. He's a consistent tackler. He's a downhill player. He's a guy who reinvented himself, transferred out of Wyoming, came here, bet on himself, didn't know if he was, we needed a linebacker at the time, and ultimately he didn't know if he was, where he would fit in, but he's stuck around. He's faced a lot of different injuries in his career, and he just continues to show up every day and go to work, and obviously elected captain, so he has the respect of his teammates, and he's consistent.
Coach, you all ran the ball for 6 yards per carry in the first half. Second half, you take out that run on 2nd and 59. It's under 3. Going back and watching the tape, what were some of the reasons you all maybe didn't have have the same success running in the second half?
I think at least 5 of those runs came in the 4-minute situation at the end of the game. So, advertised runs, everybody knows what they're coming in. We're in a different situation. So, maybe that has to do with the stats. I don't think that we had any really schematic issues or not sustained issues. I know that there was a counter that we didn't really like in the fourth quarter. But I can't recall anything that I'm like, man, we just aren't doing our jobs, to be honest. We did have, on the 3rd and 4, we had an execution error. There you go. 3rd and 4, we had execution error. 1st and 10, we had execution error in run plays. So that's 2 of them. And then the other 2 that were below average, which would have been around the 3, were the second in we had 1st and 10 counter, stunk. We had 2nd and 10 outside zone, stunk. Then we threw the ball to Luther. Then we came back and had a 7-yard run, or a 6-yard run, 2-yard run, and then got out the game. So obviously counter scheme wasn't good, poor execution, and I thought our guys fought through it. The time of possession was good for us, but man, I thought our offensive line maybe got a little bit tired there. So maybe work on making sure we're in the shape we need. It's going to show up Saturday. It's going to be a hot game Saturday. We're going to have our best performance from a nutrition standpoint.
Related to the offensive line, what would you think of pass protection on Saturday after you had a chance to watch it?
Yeah, we had some issues on 3rd down protections just based off of what our scheme was, and then what they did. They were bringing some overload zone pressures that we hadn't seen before, and it took us really until the second half to get it cleaned up. I think the sack is a combination of eyes by the quarterback, short set by the tackle, and inability by the tailback to recognize that he's getting beat and chip his way out. So that's really on all 3. And then I think we had the second third down of the game that was the punt. We had leakage on the inside. It was a 5 call. Guard got matched up, was too high, ended up getting leakage, hits the quarterback at his feet right when he's making a throw to the field, doesn't. So it's always going to be a tough issue. So we got to firm up the middle of the pocket. When we're in, when we have confusion about what we're doing in protection, we got to still be solid. We can't retreat from the line of scrimmage, and I think we were retreating a little bit too much, which was putting pressure in the quarterback's lap.
Eli, now that you've had a chance to kind of look back at it, what kind of confidence does maybe your team's fight and, response, attitudes on the sideline, when you guys can start so fast as you would like? What kind of confidence does that give you?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing we can build off from the game is our team faced adversity, didn't have the best start that we needed to in any of the 3 phases, but we still found a way to compete, didn't turn on each other, found a way to compete and win, and really I didn't think played our best ball in the fourth quarter either, but offensively when the game was on the line, we executed on critical downs in order to win. So those are building blocks that says you have it in you. Now it's just about being more consistent. So I think that's the biggest key. And believe me, yesterday I challenged our staff and our players, put your feelings in a box. Like, don't come into this team room and thinking we're going to celebrate and party based off the film, because that's not going to be it. We're going to challenge each other in here because the lack of discipline is a result of the lack of accountability, and there's going to be accountability. I mean, no different than they caught me on tape getting on Luther between the 3rd and 4th quarter. He deserved every bit of that. And he understood it. I mean, he looked me right in the eye and said, yes, sir. And just like yesterday when we addressed it, he understood. Selfish penalties cannot happen. The team's mission is way more important than anybody's individual hurt feelings. So put your feelings in a box, put your big boy pants on, and take accountability for the things that we have to improve on.
Coach, and Nate Noel's recruitment, what was the first thing that sparked your interest in him, and how do you evaluate his performance so far?
Yeah, Nate's obviously a uniquely talented player. Always the biggest concern when you recruit somebody from a different division or Group of 5, Division 2, whatever, is how are they going to adjust to the speed of the game. So we watched the North Carolina game, we watched the Texas A&M game, and the explosiveness that he shows on film, his ability to read the inside or the outside zone, his ball skills out of the backfield were all exactly what we wanted it to be on tape. And then I think when he got here, his desire to to be a positive contribution to the team. And he's done a really good job down there with Coach Russell and Coach Liz and Zach and taking care of his body. You know, each year at App State, he was always a little bit beat up, wasn't as durable as he would like to be. He's really worked on his durability, his nutritional habits, and his practice habits.
You mentioned the one tight end stores, but they've really rotated 2-3 tight ends throughout the season so far. A lot of 12 personnel, a lot of pistol. How does that make it even more difficult with your pressure packages you were talking about? And how does that also help them kind of disguise the run and the passing together?
Yeah, they utilize a lot of unbalanced formations, and the easiest way to create unbalanced formations is to 12 personnel. But traditionally, when the ball is going to get thrown, he's looking for number 9. So we have to understand that, you know, if we have him in man or he's in our zone, we need to cover him because the quarterback's looking for him. You know, multi-use tight ends is an important part of any offense if that's what you believe in, especially more for them because you can try to dictate the fronts that you want in order to run the ball the way you want to with what they're doing.
Any other questions? Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, thank you.
Pretty good. Where do you feel like you've grown in, in-game adjustments, conversation with the coaching staff as you try to work things out, mid-game? Where do you feel like you've grown the most there?
Yeah, I think like you said, I think just being able to adjust on the fly. When we've gotten out there versus first 3 opponents, we haven't had a ton of tape to game plan on and a ton of tape that we can, bank. They're going to run this, they're going to do this against this formation, etc. So those first 3 drives, just I think my experience from the past few years, and now obviously we have iPads on the sideline. I have better communication with Kirby, Coach Drink, and just having that, we're able to adjust better on the fly. We're able to see what they're doing pretty quickly in the first couple drives and make adjustments. So I think that's definitely one area I've gotten better at.
Brady, anything in your football career prepare you for 2nd and 59?
No. Yeah, that was crazy. Obviously we ran the ball. Nate almost broke it there on 2nd and 59. But obviously penalties put us in that situation. So it's funny to talk about. But at the end of the day, I mean that was a pretty important drive in that game. And 2nd and 59 isn't going to help us much. So we definitely got to clean it up. But no.
How do you strike that balance between keeping a fire and keeping the player fired up, but also avoiding the unsportsmanlike one?
Yeah, I think there's a fine balance between it. It's a passionate game. We're giving everything we have, and when you make plays or someone gets under your skin, it's pretty easy to fire back. But at the same time, you got to have that balance of discipline and being able to tune it out and just move on, because whenever it starts to hurt your team, then it becomes a negative.
What's your job as a captain and a leader this week when talking about reducing the penalties and some of the stuff Coach Drink was talking to us about?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts with emphasizing it in practice. My job as the quarterback is, at least pre-snap to make sure everybody's where they need to be, make sure the play gets off right, make sure there's no pre-snap operation mistakes, and that'll eliminate a lot of it. And then just staying on everybody. If there is a mistake in practice or a penalty in practice, making sure, I make a point to talk to them about it, make sure it doesn't happen again. And like I said, I think it just starts in practice.
Brady, how much do you think this offense, or how much better do you think this offense can be, and what are the next steps to reach that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've scratched what this offense can be. I really don't think we have. Obviously we all know it. We haven't had as many explosive plays as we should. It starts with me. I think it really starts in practice. Tuesday and Wednesday we need to get better reps on explosive pass plays and make sure we're repping these at full speed and getting our timing right and getting extra after practice. We can't just assume we're going to show up on Saturday and hit these explosive passes. So there's a lot left to put on tape. We haven't put a lot on tape, so we need to keep growing, keep getting better, and it starts today, Tuesday, making sure we're connecting on these.
You mentioned that we haven't put a lot on tape, but have you and Kirby talked about how often the deep ball is being called, about how often, because I think there was only 3 passes that went 20 yards or more downfield on Saturday. We talked to Kirby about that.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about it. I mean, at the end of the day, he's calling the game on what he sees, and he's done an awesome job. And he did mention he wants to give me and the offense more opportunities on first and second down. So that's one point he made, which I think that's good, and that will help a lot to give us some more opportunities. But I think I'm by no means am I an offensive coordinator. So it's hard to speak to that. And I'm sure there's a lot of things that go into it, calling games, making sure you're calling the right plays, staying in control of the game. What is the defense doing? What are we gashing them on? So there's a lot of things that go into it, but he did mention more opportunities on first and second down instead of third.
I'm sure you guys had full faith in Blake all offseason, but how big a difference does it make to go out and actually see him do what he did on a kick that looked like it might have been good from about 7?
Yeah, that was crazy. He just ran out there and he booted it. I mean, he drilled it. Like it hit like midway on the net, and there was really never a doubt. It looked like in his eyes running out, and then obviously his celebration after. So we have a ton of confidence in Blake, and that's nice to know. 2-minute drives. That kick line's moved back a little bit, so that helps out the offense.
Brady, it seems like for you, in terms of tenths of seconds, the ball's coming out a little bit quicker for you this year. Is that something that is an intentional change for you, or a byproduct of scheme things, or what do you think might be leading to that?
Yeah, I think it's just really knowing where I'm going pre-snap, understanding the concepts better, really just not holding the ball as long. If I'm able to identify what the defense is doing, and I know the concept like the back of my hand, and I know where the ball needs to go, ideally it comes out very, very quick. So obviously it's early. We've only played 3 games, so things change and concepts change, and prepping for defenses change. So the numbers could change, but at the end of the day, we have gotten the ball out pretty quick the first 3 games.
With that more broadly, how do you kind of sense the passage of time when you're in the quarterbacks? Is something that you feel beats or count in your head? What does that look like for you?
You're not really thinking about it, but you can just kind of feel it. Whenever you get the ball in your hands from the snap, there's kind of like an internal time clock, and whenever it kind of hits that moment, you're like, okay, I've been here a little long. I need to see what's going on or get out of here. But it's really not something you think about. Just playing quarterback for so long, you get used to that internal time clock, and either getting out of the pocket, scrambling, or getting the ball out of your hand.
Are Blake and Vita similar at all? What are the similarities or differences?
It's hard to compare. Thicker kicker and Craig the leg. They're pretty unique in their own ways, I'll give you that, but they both have a big leg, and they're both pretty accurate.
Brady, how much of a relief is the one game to you, especially in these first couple games while you guys are still trying to figure out the deep ball and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's huge. You just look at the first couple drives versus Boston College. We were gashing them on outside zone. Nate and Marcus are creasing it and making cuts on the third level defenders, and that's huge. I mean, that's how you start drives, sustain drives, and really wear down defenses.
On your touchdown run, Nate Noel said after the game he didn't know you had that movement. Have you not shown that off in practice before?
I don't know. I guess not. I guess I don't get touched a lot in practice. I guess defenders aren't coming quite as fast at me in practice, so maybe not. I guess I could kind of go out there on Saturday and get to show everybody.
Going more for Brady, have you noticed at all with a full season of tape for defense stable of you, have they been doing anything different? Does that play at all in a factor to the limited deep passes?
Did you say for who?
For defenses to have a full season of tape with Kirby's scheme for you guys' offense, has that benefited them at all, and have they been running anything different against you guys?
As far as prepping for the defenses?
No, so for opposing defenses, since they have a full season of film to watch,
Oh,
have they
okay.
been running anything different in the game?
Yeah. I think ideally, if you're prepping for a team, the more tape, the better. You get an idea of tendencies, formations, what they run out of this, what they run out of that. I think that could play into it maybe, but not necessarily. I mean, Kirby does an awesome job of switching up formations and motions and different ways to run things to where it's very, very hard to game plan for. So at the end of the day, I think it just comes back to the flow of these first few games, what we needed to do, what Kirby needed to call, and then at the end of the day, executing in practice and just continuing to get better.
Ray, thought any about the legacy that you're kind of leaving here? 17,000 yards passing, 8,000 yards total offense, already become the record holder for most games with a rushing and passing touchdown. Have you allowed yourself to go there at all?
Not really. I'm sure I will at some point. Maybe I think bye weeks are always good for a little reflecting, so I know that's coming up. But we're so in it right now. The season is so busy. You're so engulfed in everything, whether it's Sunday getting your body right, Monday right back to prep, Tuesday and Wednesday you're in it, Thursday and Friday you start getting those butterflies, and then you play again and you repeat it. So you're so engulfed in it, it's hard to think about anything outside of how do we beat Vanderbilt, how do I throw touchdowns versus Vanderbilt, how do I make sure we're in the right call versus this. It's hard, but I do hear it. I know it's there, and I'm sure I'll get some time to reflect on it soon.
Brady, Coach was saying that the biggest thing to grow on this week is obviously how you guys won that game, overcoming adversity. What do you feel like you can grow on, going into a tough league play as well?
Yeah, like you said, the coolest thing was just how, we got down 14-3 quick. I think we had one possession on offense in the first quarter, and, really no one flinched. You couldn't see a difference in our sideline, a difference in the guys' eyes and their energy, and that's what I'm most proud of too, is we didn't flinch, and I think that's gonna help us down the road for sure. We're gonna be in more adverse situations. We're gonna be in a lot tougher games. So that experience right there, that's gonna go a long way. And then we have a big opponent this week in Vanderbilt, first SEC game. We need to go out there and take care of business, and it starts today in practice. We need to have energy like any other game, and we need to prepare, and we got to go get this one done.
Thank you.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
How was this offseason different now that you had a whole year in the system and kind of knew you were going to be that going in?
I think my preparation was the same. Last year I kind of prepared to be the starter as well, just like our number one core value, always compete. So I think that was kind of the main thing, is just going there, same mindset as always. So.
What did you learn from
So Harrison was a great mentor and also a fantastic kicker, as everyone knows. And I think he taught me a lot on the mental side of kicking and physically. And I would say that everything he taught me is stuff I still apply in my everyday approach. So.
Like on that note of always competing, Drinkwoods talked to us right near the end of fall camp that there was a day where you were struggling a little bit and they put Nick in, and then there was a day last year where Harrison was struggling a little bit and they put you in with the starters. What was how did you process both those moments, and was that a big realization for you in either of those years?
Yeah, so I think every kicker we have on roster is obviously very good, and that kind of goes hand in hand with always compete, like you said. But I think you kind of have to have the mentality of you're going to mess up as a kicker. You're going to have great moments, you're going to have bad moments, and then it's all about just being consistent and going back to work the same day or the same way the next day. So.
Blake, I know some kickers hesitate to answer this, but I got to ask after the one on Saturday, what's the range where you tell coach I can hit it?
So obviously it depends on the day, the wind and everything, but obviously I feel very comfortable with my range out to 60, even 65, but I think that kind of comes and goes with the day and the wind and everything like that. So.
Blake, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but after going 1 for 3 a couple of weeks ago, how are you able to bounce back to not only not miss a kick the next week, but go 4 for 4, including the 50+ yarder?
So I think my mindset is always never get too high, never get too low. And when you have a great game, you still got a game the next week. When you have a bad game, you still have a game the next week. It's kind of going with our team motto as well, being 1-0. So it's kind of the way I approach it.
Can you tell on one like the 57-yarder, do you know as soon as you hit it, you got that? I mean, how quickly can you tell?
So yeah, I mean, off the foot, you can obviously oh, that was a great hit. But I kind of keep my head down until I see the thing go through the upright, and then that's when I realize oh, we made it. So you know what I mean. So.
Blake, how much confidence does hitting a career best like that, then also an SEC special teams player of the week? How much confidence does that give you for this season?
I think it's very good for not only my confidence, but I think it's really good for the team's confidence. Obviously, I want to do everything I can every single game to score points for the team, and that's just my main goal going in every game is to help the team win. So.
Blake, you mentioned Harrison as a mentor. Are there any other kickers in college or the professional game that you try and take things from and apply to your game?
Yeah, I mean, I've grown up a Chiefs fan my whole life, so obviously, the two guys that come straight to my mind are Cairo Santos and Harrison Butker, but some new faces like Evan McPherson is a guy that I really look up to, and I think that his younger brother also plays in the SEC. So he's a fantastic kicker, and I try to mimic a lot of the things that he does as well. So.
What are some of those specific things that you see?
I would say just his approach to the game and to his mentality going into every game. I've seen him talk, and he trains with the same coach that I train with. So I know a lot about the way he kicks his style. I've seen some of his film. He's very, very, very good with his technique. So.
How did you become a kicker? How did that get on your radar?
Yeah, so it's kind of a funny story, but I played soccer my whole life, as many kickers, but it was going into my freshman year. High school coach just said, hey, we need somebody that can boot the ball down the field, and I was like, well, I can try it. Honestly, it was very terrible for a few months, but I just stuck with it. I had this gut feeling that said, you got to do this, and then I ended up, after the first kickoff of the season, we had a senior that was in front of me. He ended up not hitting the ball well. Coach put me in, and then kind of the rest was history. I stuck with it, and so.
Wait, mentally, when you miss a kick in game, how do you recover from that on the sideline and get ready and get prepared to go out there again and just refresh?
So, me and Harrison and all the coaches, we all have this mentality of next play. And for me, I say next kick because this is the way I think of it. It's next kick, make or miss. You still have a kick after that, whether it's in that game or it's the next week, so.
Anything else for Blake?
Blake, I don't think the her kicker exactly fits for you. Do you have any nickname developments going on?
So I've obviously seen Instagram and Twitter. They're saying Craig the Leg. I do think I do like the nickname, but I kind of like I leave it up to other people to kind of give me the nickname they want to. So, but
All right.
thank you.
Christian Williams.
Christian, what was kind of your message, you and the other veterans' message to a lot of the new transfers on defense when they got here, and how's that been perceived and helping defense get off to a start?
It's a broad message. I mean, we were just basically going over our core values, team values, just what's expected out of death row or ambush or even E3. So we just try to make sure they get more comfortable within the scheme. Not only that, but just buy into the program overall. And we've been going through different adversity and stuff each and every day. So I feel like just more so encouraging them and pushing them to be more of them.
Christian, it looks like against Boston College there were a few times where Marquise was coming in to be a nose tackle and you guys would have 5 linemen there. Just, what do you think that look gives you? Does it change the way you have to play when you're on the interior there?
I wouldn't say change the way that we have to play. It's more still attack, react on different things, just get vertical, harass the quarterback, and create takeaways. So the message is still the message, but as far as just that formation, it's just bringing a bigger package on. It's harder to run the ball in a 3-man or 5-man front. So we're just changing the look for the offense so they can be confused as well as just running different plays and stuff and putting the ball in there.
Christian, when you contain a QB like Castellanos, does that give the defense more confidence, or is that this is what we should be doing? That's kind of the standard.
I wouldn't say contain him. I mean, dude's just too fast. Like that's a very mobile quarterback, dual threat. All props to him. I mean, it's pretty tough going against a competitor like that, just because you got to not only defend the pass, but you got to defend the run. He can extend plays with his legs, and it was a pretty big challenge for us. So, yeah, he's a pretty good player.
What about a guy like Javi, the different style runner, wants to run, will run a lot, but more of a downhill style? You get excited about the guy that wants to take on contact?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Just being a trench mob affiliate, you got to love stuff like that. I mean, we love contact at the end of the day. That's what defensive linemen do each and every play. So, I mean, you never shy away from contact.
What really stands out about Diego Javi from tape?
From who?
From the tape. What stands out about him?
Oh, yeah, they play as a team. I mean, they always have something to prove. They always play us. It's always be a tough game. We play them. So we just can't go in there and say, like, hey, at the end of the day, we got to keep continuing our game. We can't be so much more focused on the next opponent, but more so just about them and tackling that obstacle and then just getting over it. So from them, just seeing them, they got a dynamic offense. They got a running back that can get down here. He can make the different cuts. Like he said before, he got a quarterback that could extend plays with his legs, but he's also a physical runner, so he'll get down here pretty quick, but he can also throw the ball up as well. So we just got to keep on playing our game.
What have been your goals as a leader and stepping in as guys like D-Rob are gone? How have you maybe improved your leadership or changed it?
Since D-Rob left, I mean, we still keep in contact. He be telling me different things, and it still resonate with me to this day. So just trying to be more vocal, just keep on doing the uncomfortable things and being more comfortable with being uncomfortable. So whether it's just being there for somebody at their lowest point, or just stepping up in times of need, and just trying to be more of that guy to where I can be looked upon as like, he'll be there for me. So for me, just my goal is just being a leader, just to keep the younger guys encouraged, keep them coming up, and keep them motivated as we go through a long season like this.
Christian, you said earlier in the year that you don't look at being as a team captain as anything more than like being an older brother.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak more on that and what you've been able to do kind of with your teammates in that older brother role?
I got a fair share of being an older brother because I'm 50% of a middle child. So, but just trying to apply everything I do within that realm to this realm as well. So, just giving motivational advice to the younger guys, but also at the same time just trying to challenge them, encourage them, and also just be that person that's more comfortable with them. So they know they can get whatever they want out of me, so I respect the same thing in return. So it's just being that person that's there for them.
Christian, Coach Frank a couple weeks ago was talking about how happy he is about Sam Williams and his development. What have you seen from Sam, and how has he been able to make a difference so far?
Oh, he's been maturing, more vocal, making more plays, and just learning football as a whole. His football IQ has definitely grew a lot this past year. He's been more motivated. He's been more confident in his style of play, and also just within the team as well. And last year, you really didn't see him coming around talking as much, more of a vibrant, bubbly type of person. But now he's starting to become himself. He's starting to get more comfortable within the scheme, and not only that, but within the team. So, I mean, I'm very proud of Sam just because I seen him like beginning into his college journey, and now I'm seeing him now. It's been a big difference for him.
Christian, last year in Nashville, Vanderbilt was able to keep themselves in the game with a few explosive plays towards the end. Are there any lessons that the defense has taken or did take from that game that you'd like to see applied this Saturday?
Just try to reduce the non-talent issues, whether it's going to class on time, whether it's just the small, minute stuff like that. Really just try to reduce that because all that stuff carries over into the game. And then also on top of that, just trying not to, I want to just beat ourselves if that's the case, just little small penalties or whatever the case might be, just staying more disciplined, playing disciplined, sound football.
Christian, what do you remember about your first impressions of Chuck Hicks, and what does his personality add to this team?
Man, Chuck Hicks, he was quiet when I first met him, man. So, well, at least to me. And now that I've got to know him more and be around him more and just going through different adversities with him, I mean, he's a talkative guy. He's a very vocal guy, and he's all about business at the same time, but he'll crack a joke here and there. So, I mean, he's definitely a great person to be around, but also just a great competitor on the field, too.
Anything else for Christian? All right. Christian,
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you all.